Okay, let's go ahead and read this question together. It says 2 out of every 5 students at Constance Holbert like pizza. If there are a total of 450 students at Constance Holbert, how many of them like pizza? Let's read that one more time. 2 out of every 5 students at Constance Holbert like pizza. If there are a total of 450 students at Constance Holbert, how many of them like pizza? So the way that we're going to set up this problem, or the way we're going to solve this problem, is we're going to set up two equivalent ratios, or what is known as a proportion, okay? So we know that out of every 5 students, right? It says out of every 5 students, how many of them like pizza? 2, right? It says 2 out of every 5 students at Constance Holbert like pizza, so that's important. So that means for every 5 students, how many of them like pizza? 2 of them like pizza, right? So for every 5 students, 2 of them like pizza. We're going to set up our first ratio. So we just did that right now. And now we're going to set up our second ratio. It's asking here if there are a total of 450 students. So this is a total of 450 students at Constance Holbert. How many of them like pizza? So what are we looking for? We're trying to find how many of the students like pizza. So we're going to put a question mark here. That's what we're trying to find. And here it's saying if there are a total of 450 students. Now we're going to put the total down here. We're going to match it with our left side, because here it's telling us there's a total of 450 students. Now I want us to see that we matched our units. Total students in the top. In the bottom. Pizza in the top, pizza in the top. So here, let's look at our ratios one more time. We have the total students at the bottom, or put the total students in the bottom. We have the number of students like pizza in the top, and that's where we're trying to find the number of students like pizza in the top. So now we've set up these two equivalent ratios. This is ratio 1. And here's ratio 2. Let's go ahead and solve. And this is one way. There's several ways, maybe like 3 or 4 ways that we can solve this problem. But I'm going to show you guys one way through this video. And the way that we're going to solve this proportion is we're going to look at these two fractions. We're going to look at these two ratios as if they were fractions. So how do we get from 5 to 450? 5 times what number is going to give you 450? And I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but whenever you don't know, I'm just going to do this over here. Whenever you guys don't know, if you're missing a number, like say you're trying to find out 5 times a number that I don't know is going to give me 450. Whenever you don't know what that number is, well, you can use the inverse operation. So 5 times an unknown number, and this is what we're trying to find, is going to give us 450. What we're going to use the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. So if we take 450 and we actually divide that by 5 and we work backwards, that'll tell us what we need to multiply 5 times to get that number. Okay? And let me show you maybe with an easier example. Like let's just say we didn't know 3 times an unknown number. We didn't know what that number was, right? And we're trying to find it. If we multiply 3 times an unknown number, that's going to give us 9. If we didn't know this and we wanted to find out what this number is, what we can do, we can work backwards and we can actually divide 9 by 3. We can use the inverse operation. And 9 divided by 3, that's equal to 3. So then we know that 3 times 3 will give us 9. And so this is what we refer to when we're talking about the inverse operation. If we don't know what this number is here, 5 times a number that we don't know, that's going to give us 450, and we don't know what that number is, then we can work backwards. And so what we're going to divide 450 by 5, and that'll give us what that number is. So let's go ahead and do that over here. And some of you guys might be able to do this with mental math, but sometimes the numbers won't be as easy to work with as they are here in this example, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and do it over here on the side. So 450, if we were to divide that by 5, let's go ahead and do that. How many times is 5 going to 45? Or 5 into 4, you guys could do this, it would be 0. 4 minus 0, that's 4. Let's bring down the 5. How many times is 5 going to 45? That would be 9, right? We can subtract 9 groups of 5. 9 times 5, that's 45. We're left with 0. And let's bring down the last 0. How many groups of 5 can we subtract from 0? I'm sorry, guys. That would be 0 here. And so let's go ahead and subtract 0. So 5 times 90, that gives us 450. So we could put here the number 90. We could say that 5 times 90 will give us 450. Now, whatever you multiply the bottom by, you're going to multiply the top by that same number, because this is a proportion. They're two equivalent ratios, or you could think of it as two equivalent fractions. So 5 times 90, that gives us 450. So we're going to do the same thing here in the top. So we're going to multiply 2 times 90, and that will give us our answer. So let's go ahead and do that here on the side. 90 times 2. 2 times 0, that's 0. And 2 times 9, that's 18. So if there to be a total of 450 students, and every 2 students out of the 5 like pizza, then we would have a total of 180 that like pizza. So if for every 5 students, 2 of them like pizza, how many students would like pizza if there was a total of 450? Our answer would be 180. And again, how do we do that? Let's go through the steps again. Well, we set up our two equivalent ratios. And then after that, we were looking at our numbers from left to right. We're saying, how do we get from 5 to 450? Or in other words, 5 times one number is going to give us 450. We didn't know what that number was, so we ended up doing is we used the inverse operation and we divided 450 by 5. You guys see that? And we got 90. And so 5 times 90, that's 450. And whatever we multiply the bottom by, we have to multiply the top times that. 2 times 90, that's 180. So 180 students would like pizza if there was a total of 450 students. Okay? Hope this helped.